Why should we invest in culture is because we have to care about the kind of society that we want to live in, the kind of society that we want our children to inherit from us. Well, the problems around intellectual property have become so much more complicated because of the internet, the possibility to do downloading. And before, I mean, the question really had to do with authors and composers who had rights to their works, and it was a far simpler affair than it is today. I think that an artist really has to have a right to their work. I mean, I started my own record label because not because I was being abused by my record company, but once the record was released, I lost all. They could do whatever they want with it. They could make a compilation. It would disappear from the catalog, and I found that really painful to create something and then to have it orphaned, really. So I wanted to be able to have control over my work and how it would be used after the first CD had come out, and having that control over my own creative work is an enormous satisfaction, much more satisfying than whether or not the records are selling. I mean, they do, but that is really the most important thing for me, is that my work exists and that I really can control in which way that it is going to be presented. So 5 years ago, I started my own label, which is Artiverum, and I chose that name because it's like two things that are important in my life: truth and art. I think there's a need for artists to know a little bit about how they should protect the rights that they have to their work. But it's a dichotomy, because we really don't want to be bothered with, money, and yes, we need money to live, but we really don't want to be concerned about that. I was very lucky. My first husband was my agent, and I must say I never ever had to ask what the fee was. I mean, I was lucky that I was getting work and I was able to have a living, but it was a kind of a freedom not to know anything that had to do with contracts. That I wanted to know what I was asked to sing, with whom, what were the conditions, the working conditions. Those were the things that really concerned me the most. But then I took things over and I had to do them myself, and I saw that it's quite okay to have to do the grungy work of negotiating a contract or saying, because it's hard to say, this is what I'm worth. That's why we have agents, because it's difficult to put into figures what our work is worth, really. So I sort of had fun, and I would just sort of throw out something and then be quite surprised when people will accept to pay me that. So I sort of treated it as a game, and I won quite often, just because I dared ask for something that probably could have been even considered to be ridiculous. But I do think that an education is necessary for knowing this is practical, and later on you're going to be happy that you looked into what your rights are to protect your work, and not just leave that to some agent to do, because sometimes agents or record companies, there are so many stories about artists, jazz artists particularly, who have, who die quite poor and without any control over their work. I think most artists will continue to only want to be concerned about the creative process. That's really where we have our energies, and that's where the fun is, really, the creative process. That's what I enjoy, and not to be bothered with arguing about the fee. But we have to be also very careful that we protect the integrity of our creativity, of what we create. And for that reason, we have to be a little bit smarter about business as culture is being considered to be a business more and more, that we have to be conscious of that, and we have to evolve. We have to evolve and dare to sort of get our hands dirty and do the business part, or else make sure that we have partners who are agents and managers who understand what our goals are as an artist and who protects that, and at the same time are able to protect our rights. I think we have to find ways to protect artists, because if we don't, then it becomes very difficult, almost impossible for people to create their work, particularly for those who write, who compose their own work. They really need to be able, not just for the money, but because what they put into their work, they need to be able to get something back so they can continue to work and continue to give us that conversation that we need, which is what art is about. It is just a conversation about our human condition that we share with one another. And the sharing of that is absolutely essential to human life.